Let's tie up a very versatile jig nymph called the Yellow Spot Jig. I have a Hanak 400 barbless hook in my vise with a 2.5 gold tungsten slotted bead. We're using 70 Denier in red. We'll go ahead and put some thread down, starting at the back of the bead, working our way back to the hook bend. Snipping our little tail end off of our thread. The first material we're going to use today is going to be some Coq de Leon fibers, and that's going to be for our tail. You want that tail to be just the length of the hook shank. Go ahead and flatten my thread out here so that when you tie your Coq de Leon fibers in, it sends that thread back to the back of the hook so you can tie those fibers in a little easier. Looks like my tail is going to be a little long here, so we'll go ahead and shorten it up. Got it right to where I want it. So we'll go ahead and continue our way back with the thread to just about where the bend of the hook starts bending on us. We don't want to get too far, make that tail really curl down. We want to keep it as straight as possible. And work our way back up to the bead. Snipping off our extra material there. Next material is going to be copper ultra wire in brassy size. That's going to be our ribbing material. I shove that wire just into the slot of the bead so that I can get an even body all the way through the fly. Start with our body material here, which is going to be pheasant tail. Grab off about 5 or 6 fibers of that pheasant tail, and I like to snip off the tips of it even so that I can get out of the fragile parts of the pheasant tail. Go ahead and tie those in, work our way all the way back to the hook bend. I shouldn't say all the way back to the hook bend. Don't go any further than that tail was tied in. Go ahead and make your way all the way back up to the bead head. And I like to give a couple little half hitches here to secure my thread down while I throw my bobbin onto the bobbin holder. To use my rotary function here to put down that pheasant tail. That pheasant tail, go ahead and use touching wraps all the way back up. Almost till you get to the bead. Leave a little bit of space for my hot spot and my CDC collar. Tie those fibers in. Snip off our extras. Okay, now we'll go ahead and throw the bobbin back on the bobbin holder and tie in our ribbing material, our copper wire. I'm wrapping in the same direction as my pheasant tail, but that's the incorrect way. You want to make sure you wrap that copper wire in the opposite direction of your pheasant tail, just from better durability. We'll go ahead and tie it in. Go ahead and break that off with a little bit of a helicopter trick. Helicopter it until it breaks off. Now that we got that tied in, we'll get on to our next material here, which is going to be our hot spot, which is going to be some hen Spectra dubbing in yellow. We'll spin on a little dubbing noodle with that yellow dubbing, and we'll go ahead and tie it in. Now that we got that tied in, go ahead and put on our collar, which is going to be a CDC in gray. Kind of prepare my CDC by cutting those fibers at the end of the feather into a square, so when I capture it with my thread, there's a less chance of it pulling out. That thread grabs those fibers a little bit better that way. This is a great pattern from spring to fall. You can get into matching anything from a caddis to a mayfly to an emerging PMD. There's a lot of different options out there with this fly. It's got a lot of different buggy materials on it that imitates a lot of different aquatic insects. Wrap our CDC around a couple times here. And tie it in. When tying this in, you want to make sure that you're not capturing any of those fibers down, so you can wiggle your thread back and forth while you're going around the hook to make sure you miss those fibers. Snip off our extra of our feather. Put a couple thread wraps here behind the bead. This is a great fly pattern, not only for its bugginess, but for its weight too. Gets down in the water columns that you want it to get down into, whether it be the bottom or the middle of the creek or river that you're fishing, and it's just a great all-around pattern. Then I'll give a little whip finish to finish the fly off. Snip our thread off. Get it cleaned up a little bit here. Got a couple fibers I'm not liking, and then I don't really like that dubbing noodle that I made, so I'll clean it up a little bit here. Well, that's the yellow spot jig. Get some of these in your fly box and you'll thank me. They're definitely a fish catcher. really an eye catcher, just with all the different aquatic insects that it can imitate and how buggy it is. It's a very good searching pattern. We'll give it a little bit of a UV resin on the thread there and let it soak in. Give it a little zap. And that'll do it. Thanks guys for watching. Don't forget to like if you enjoyed watching this video and learned a couple things from it. Go ahead and give a comment down below on any questions that you have on the fly, or maybe some new fly patterns that you would like me to tie in the future. Go ahead and hit that subscribe button if you have enjoyed this video and want to see more videos. Get out there and fish hard.